Hi again and welcome to the next video of the third section, adding a sitemap to your site. In the previous video we've created custom template tags and filters. In this video we'll learn how to add a sitemap to your site. Django comes with a sitemap framework which allows you to generate sitemaps for your site dynamically. A sitemap is an XML file that tells search engines the pages of your website, their relevance and how frequently they are updated. By using a sitemap, you'll help crawlers indexing your website's content. The Django sitemap framework depends on django.contrib.sites, which allows you to associate objects to a particular websites that are running with your project. This comes handy when you want to run multiple sites using a single Django project. To install the sitemap framework, we need to activate both the sites and the sitemap applications in our project. Edit the settings.py file of your project and add these two lines to the installed_apps setting. Also define a new setting for the site ID. Now, run this command to create the tables of the Django Sites application in the database. We'll see an output that contains this line. The Sites application is now synced with the database. Now create a new file inside your blog application directory and name it sitemaps.py. Open the file and add this code to it. We create a custom sitemap by inheriting the sitemap class of the sitemaps module. The change freq and priority attributes indicate the change of frequency of your post pages and their relevance in your website. The items method returns the query set objects to include in this sitemap. By default, Django calls the getAbsoluteURL method on each object to retrieve its URL. If you want to specify the URL for each object, you can add a location method to your sitemap class. The lastMod method receives each object returned by items and returns the last time the object was modified. Both changeFreq and priority method can also be either methods or attributes. You can see the complete sitemap reference in the official Django documentation located at this site. Finally, we just need to add our sitemap URL. Edit the main urls.py file of your project and add the sitemap like this. Here we included the required imports and defined a dictionary of sitemaps. We define a URL pattern that matches with sitemap.xml and uses the sitemap view. The sitemaps dictionary is passed to the sitemap view. Now open the shell and execute the command python manage.py run server to start the development server. The development server has started. Now open this link in your browser. You should see XML code like this. The URL for each post has been built calling its getAbsoluteURL method. The lastMod attribute corresponds to the post published date field as we specified in our sitemap. And the changeFreq and priority attributes are also taken from our post sitemap class. You can see that the domain used to build the URLs is example.com. This domain comes from a site object stored in a database. The default object has been created when we sync the site's framework with our database. Open this link in your browser. This is the list display admin view for the site's framework. Here you can set the domain or host to be used by the site's framework and the applications that depend on it. In order to generate URLs that exist in our local environment, change the domain name as shown in this screen. We point to our local host for development purposes. In a production environment, you'll have to use your own domain name for the site's framework. Awesome! We've successfully added a sitemap to your site. In the next video, we'll learn how to create feeds for your blog posts.